Hello, Kelly. How are you today?
I'm okay.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad to see you back again. Um, so what is on your mind? What's going on today?
Yeah, my parents and some of my siblings and friends encouraged me to reach out to you because my smoking, I smoke a lot of weed and it's kind of getting out of control. Um, and I feel like I'm a little too dependent on it.
Okay, when you say that you're dependent on marijuana use, can you explain further on that for me so I can better understand?
Yeah, I feel like, I have a lot going on. I'm in graduate school. I'm a school social worker. I have a whole house and like people who depend on me. And I feel like I use the cannabis as a reward at the end of every day as like a self-care mechanism, a way to check out, a way to reward myself after, hearing a lot of heavy stuff at work. And I feel like sometimes like my day revolves around it and coming home at the end of the day and like, like when can I smoke?
Yeah.
I'm fiending to smoke and it's just gotten a little out of hand and like it's like too much of a focus in my head.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that this is something that you look forward to every day at the end of the day. And you treat it as like a reward and like you did good today type thing. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Yep.
And Kelly, I also heard you say that you mentioned friends, family, that they really pushed you to come see me. Does your family see you use cannabis in front of them, or is it just they, from what you're telling them, is how they know?
I think it depends on the family member. I've certainly been on like family vacations with my mom, my stepdad, and my step siblings, and I will just like light up outside, like on the porch, or like go for a walk and smoke because I'm stressed out from my family. And I know that I like depend on it. So there's a level of like almost chemical dependency too. And
Right.
they see me do it. My mom will come over to my house, to visit or to hang out, and I will excuse myself and go smoke. I've smoked in front of her as a teenager up until now for the past, 15 years. So she's definitely aware. My stepdad is. My dad is aware that I smoke and he like sees stuff in my house and like I've smoked in front of him, but we don't even broach the subject. He just kind of like gets on the bandwagon with my mom and is like, well, if they're divorced, but like
Right.
he's like, if she's saying it, it must be a problem, bud. So he's just like, you need to go talk to somebody and kind of get that under control.
Okay. Um, and when your dad kind of just says, go get help and things like that, how does that make you feel?
Really shitty. That's obviously like not the only thing we talk about, but like it brings up a lot of childhood stuff with, not wanting to feel like I'm disappointing him. But um yeah, it makes me feel guilty. And sometimes it makes me want to smoke even more because I just want to forget about what he's saying.
Right. When you say that that's not the only thing that you guys talk about, um, if you don't mind me asking, what else do you guys talk about? What else contributes to, not that I'm swearing at you, but you mentioned that it makes you feel shitty. So what else is there that you guys talk about that kind of contributes to that feeling?
He I'm graduating with my master's in May, and he is on my case about a job. I currently work at a school, like I'm currently employed, and they'd like to hire me. They're trying to hire me post graduation, and he is. hounding me about employment, when I'm going to be employed, if I have interviews lined up, if this doesn't work out. So that also makes me feel shitty too, because it's like I work
Yeah.
5 days a week and kids are a lot, as we know. So that's like soul sucking. And then I call my dad at the end of the day just to chat and catch up, and he's hounding me about the one thing that consumes my day, which is like, I need to find a job, I need to get my license, I need to graduate. And he's always right there, like, what's going on? Do you have any updates? Like, and it makes me want to smoke even more after I get off the phone with him. And that's like how I cope with that. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. And before I proceed on anything, I just wanted to point out that, you should be very proud of yourself. And like you mentioned, like kids are soul sucking and you have had a job, you withhold your job and you exceed at your job. You serve these kids and you've been working here and it seems like you're doing a wonderful job. So I just, aside from your dad hounding you about getting another job after graduation, I just hope you know that you're doing a wonderful job and you made it through a very intense, hard program and still working, still taking care of children. And I just really wanted to highlight that for you because aside from feeling that way, I want you to know that like you should be proud of yourself and I'm proud of you. Really, I am. But let's get back to um, your dad. Have question for you. Have you ever actually sat down with your father and talked about how, he makes you feel in these senses? Excuse me.
Yeah, like definitely. Well, when I was a child and a teenager, we had to go to court ordered therapy because he, um, long story short, abused my mom and I, and that was an a parameter of his treatment was that he go to therapy. And
Okay.
when we were in those spaces, like with a counselor or a psychologist, he would just shut down. And like I saw that as my only opportunity to speak up because there was
Yeah.
somebody in the room and I felt safe. But we go out to dinner a lot and like we go out and get drinks, just him and I. I'm an only child, so we're really close. And he
Right.
doesn't he's not like emotionally available for me to talk about what I call like real life issues, like smoking the amount of weed that I do to cope with the things that have happened to me, and like talking about what happened to me as a kid and a teenager. Like he's just not able to talk at all. So, no, I guess we really don't have the ability to kind of sit down at the dinner table and talk because it's just like not his, he's just refuses. Yeah.
Okay. When you are with your dad, you mentioned that you guys go out for drinks and go out to eat together. Is Do you enjoy that time? You do? That's one. Okay. And can you
Yeah.
tell me why you enjoy the time?
I'm like very grateful that we didn't speak for a large chunk of my adolescence. So I'm grateful that we can bond and like go out for wing night and beers and like watch the Bills when they're on and like do our thing together. And I think back, retrospectively, like there were a lot of times in my life where I didn't think I would be able to do that ever with my dad, or that my dad would ever be allowed to be back in my life.
Yeah.
So I always think of that like when we spend time together, and I'm grateful. And we do have a good time. We do have fun. We just don't talk about, again, what I call like real life issues, like what's going on in the here and now. So,
Right. Well, I'm glad that you guys do have a good time. I know you're mentioning that he's always hounding you about school and your job, so I'm glad that when you guys do have these times together, like stepping out and out to dinner, having the chicken wings and the beers, that you are able to enjoy that, and it's not always him trying to have you piece, your life together before graduation even happens. So I am very glad that you guys get to have that time. And Kelly, it seems like that you do love your dad and you do cherish the time with him. And you guys did have the things that happened in the past, but it seems like you both are working towards, this change and working on your relationship. Would you agree with that?
I think I am, and I do a lot of like the emotional work, but I don't think he does or is capable or will ever be, but I accept that. Um, like I accept what I'm getting, I guess. Like I'm meeting him where he's at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes hearing you clarify that for me, thank you. That makes sense. Um so I'm wondering what say you are able to talk to your dad. I know you mentioned that you can't, and that you feel that, he's not emotionally available and that you're not able to have these conversations with him. So my question for you, what if your dad could? What would that look like for you?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. That's like a different life. Um,
And if you need time to think
well,
about it, take your
yeah.
time.
I think if I had a dad that was emotionally available, um, he would like know things about me, like personal things, like about my friendships or relationships. And he would ask about like, he does ask like, how was your day at work? But it always leads into his agenda. And then it always ends with, well, it sounds like you had a stressful day at work, but I'm sure you're just gonna go smoke. And like it's always like this kind of like recipe. So if he wasn't like that, he wouldn't be saying those things to me. He wouldn't be making passive aggressive comments about my weed consumption. He would be like asking me how my day was and like congratulating me and encouraging me and saying like, you've only got like 2 months left of school, if that, really just a month and a half, and you got this, and I'm here for you, and I love you, and you're capable. Like I like affirmations, especially from, parents.
Yeah.
I guess that's really important to me. So yeah, in a perfect world, he'd be affirming and more like warm and um, asking me questions not for his agenda, but for like just to be nice and like ask me how my day was. Yeah,
Okay, so what I'm hearing is you would picture this relationship for him to be more empowering for you, more supportive of your graduate journey, and not like it sounds that from what you're saying is that he kind of makes you feel guilty a little bit. I know one thing that stood out to me with what you just said was, "Oh, okay, bud, I'm sure you had a hard day. I'm sure you're gonna go smoke." Um, that do those comments make you feel guilty?
very guilty and like shameful and like embarrassed, even though like we live in New York State, weed is legal for 21-year-old adults, so I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right?
Um, at the end of the day, like my health, whatever health issues I may face from smoking is my choice and my fault. And he just makes me feel like scummy and below him when he says stuff like that, or he like comes to my house to visit and he sees like a jar of weed or like a lighter on the counter and he's like making these passive remarks. And I always want to say something, but like my trauma response with my dad will always be just like freeze and don't say anything, so I don't ever say anything. But yeah,
Okay. Um, well, thank you very much for sharing all of that. I again, like I had mentioned before, you made it through a very hard program, and regardless of smoking marijuana at night or however you do it in your day, it hasn't affected the way you can be in school, the way you can show up for your students at school. Um, and I think you mentioned a really good point. Health wise, of course, putting anything in our lungs is not healthy, but you made up a good or brought up a good point that it is legal and you are not doing anything illegal. You're not jeopardizing, your career. You're not jeopardizing the name for yourself. You're not going to school high on marijuana helping children. Like you specifically said, it's at the end of the day. And you are an adult. So what I'm hearing is that um from you is that you're doing everything you're supposed to. You are doing well and you're flourishing. It's just this little habit that you have that at the end of the day that you indulge in. And it seems like people in your life do have something to say about it. And one thing that I did notice throughout our session so far is that you mentioned to me that other people don't want you to smoke weed and it makes you feel shitty on the remarks that they make. What is your look right now on smoking weed? What do you want to do with that? Do you want to continue? Do you want to stop? How does that look for you?
I honestly have never like wavered on my opinion. I don't think it's an issue. Like logically, I know that like I'm not waking up and getting high all day and like
Right.
going to work, like you said, like I'm not operating a vehicle. Like I don't think it's a problem. And I know I do use it like as a form of self-care at the end of the day. Like especially after work and like after dinner and when you sit down at the end of your night on your couch and like I enjoy it. I like health wise, like my doctor's very aware and like we take care of my body and like make sure my lung capacity is okay and like my um psychiatrist is very aware and like she balances my meds for my bipolar disorder around my consumption of weed. So I feel like I have a handle on it and I'm doing the best that I can in other areas with it. And I feel like at this point, like today and the here and now, like it helps me and it helps my mental health and it helps me unwind after work and school and class till 9 p.m. at night. And it helps me just like go to bed and get a good night's sleep and just like relax. Like we're up all day as social workers. I feel like I can just like take a deep breath and I don't want to quit. But I certainly am open to being more mindful of my consumption and maybe like consuming it in a more healthy way that maybe isn't smoking and changing the way that I'm consuming the plant. And that's something my doctor has said to me before. Like, could you quit smoking and maybe just eat like THC gummies or something.
Right.
So I'm open to like changing how I get it. But I don't want to quit. I don't agree with my family.
Okay. Yeah, and so what I'm hearing from you is that you are pretty open about this. You have openly disclosed to medical providers, and they are working around you for that. And I think that's wonderful. Your medical providers aren't shaming you; they are working with you. And that's something that's awesome to hear. I'm very glad that you opened up, that you're making sure your medications aren't counteracting with anything. You're doing your diligence, and I think that's something to be very proud of. Because I know for some people they don't disclose those things, and then their medications aren't adjusted to however the chemical things work. I don't know, but
Right?
yeah, like you're really doing, you're taking care of yourself. And like I mentioned before, smoke anything going into our lungs, of course, is not the best health wise, but you are being proactive and you have already talked to your doctors about, changing the consumption and you're open to that. So you're fighting against that ambivalence there. And I just want to highlight that, you should be very proud of yourself because you're way farther than a lot of people are in the stage that you're in. And I just hope you're proud of yourself because And I know it's hard at times to hear our parents, say the things that they say to us. Um, but I just hope you know that, you're doing a great job. You are.
Thanks. I think it's hard to tell myself that and believe it.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're human. And that's what I'm here for. I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm gonna help alongside of you and we're gonna get you where you want to be. We are. So Kelly, if you don't mind me just kind of summarizing what we've talked about today.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so what I have heard today is that you proposed smoking marijuana, that it is a type of self-care for you, that you do it at the end of the day. You are fully functioning, you work your job, you work with children, um, you're graduating in May, which is amazing. And then I'm also just kind of gathering that, your father is not too fond of the use. And you had mentioned before that you and your father in the past have had, your roadblocks and your barriers. There has been legal action taken upon that. Um, and that you have also spoken with your providers. Your providers are up to date with everything, and they are working with you. And um, oh, I'm sorry. Um, and you're doing a great job. And I'm saying and a lot. Is is that correct, Kelly? What I'm hearing from you? Is that kind of
Yeah.
what we talked about today?
That's a lot of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. This session was wonderful. I think we've gotten somewhere. I hope that you leave here, feeling a little better about yourself. I don't want you to feel shitty. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job, and keep working with your providers. Because I mean, that's my suggestion for you. If you don't mind me throwing that out there. I mean, you're working with them. They know what you're doing, how much you're consuming, and just keep doing that. And I think you're gonna be fine, as far as, health wise goes. And I can't speak on, how you're feeling mentally and things like that, but that's, what I'm here for, to help you through feeling this way, because, you're a wonderful person and you're doing a great job.
Thank you, Sam.
Of course. So I am looking forward to touching base on all of this next week. But please take care of yourself. And while I want to give you a little homework assignment for this week, um, try to pay attention when you're feeling down. And when you're feeling down, what I want you to do is just remind yourself how awesome you are. And just see how that works. I've heard, some of my clients say that it actually kind of works and they can reel themselves back in. So I want you to give that a try and let me know how that works for you next week.
I will. Thank you.
Of course. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
Thank you.